Now, our next guest has gone from rags to riches. And that is
Literally
no word of a lie.
No. Author Dave Rudden, he's had to overcome many obstacles in his life, but he is now an award-winning writer. You're very welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Very welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you, Dave. Nice to meet you. Things weren't always lovely in your life.
No, when you're saying like rags to riches, I was definitely in like rags earlier as well. I was like, I'm running around doing gigs at the minute, and I just dress in like a t-shirt and like shorts and stuff just because I jump around like an idiot. But now I'm fairly...
So this is the richest part of it.
They're respectable. They're respectable. You're an award-winning writer, but tell us where the story of it all started.
So basically, I was always a kid who loved books. I mean, my family were always like, I think I had 4 library cards when I was 10. Like, they had to like they wouldn't have been able to keep me in books otherwise. I remember whenever I like filled up my library card, I'd have to get books out on their library card. And I remember my dad carrying like bags of sci-fi books out, and people were like, "What are you reading, Aidan?" And he'd be like, "I'm not reading them." So I've always loved books, but never had any clue that I could become someone who wrote books. I mean, like, writers are fancy people; they're English or they're dead or whatever. And
Dead Poet Society kind of stuff.
They're not Egypt from Calvin. But I ended up getting involved in the Dublin spoken word scene, and I started writing stories, and eventually I did the creative writing masters in UCD and wrote the first chapter of Knights of the Bar Dark as a homework assignment.
Yeah. Were you were teaching in Egypt for a while as well, and then you came home then after that, was it?
I did. I have really poor impulse control, so I applied for. I wasn't working, and so I applied for pretty much every job on jobs.ie, and then I got a phone call one day being like, "We have a teaching job for you. Now, we won't waste your time. It is in Cairo." And I was like, Cairo, Egypt? And they're like,
no,
yes.
Cairo and Monaghan.
Yeah, damn. And so 2 weeks later, I was on a plane. Don't like hot weather, don't speak Arabic, but I didn't stop to think about it. And then I was there for a year.
How was that?
Really warm. Really, just like factor 80, you know, just like, there's factor 80, there really is. It was a lot of fun. The people were lovely. The pyramids are even more spectacular than you would believe.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. The Sphinx is only the size of a double-decker bus. Like, it's really small, and they take photos from a particular angle because there's a KFC right behind it.
Yeah. Oh, I heard about that KFC.
Oh my God.
That's really funny. So you came back then, but I know that at one stage, you know, it's not that easy to get published, and to get published with like someone like Penguin is certainly not that easy. No. But you were down to your last euro. Is that true? Is that literally down to? Tell us that story.
So when I got the call about Knights of the Bar Dark from my agent, I'd gotten an agent out of the masters with my with the first few chapters of the book, and she was like, "Look, this could take months," and I was like, "Cool, okay." She's like, "It might take years," and I was like, "Okay, sure." She's like, "It might never." I was like, "Okay, Claire, I get it, thank you."
Yeah. You're being nice, yeah, it may never happen.
Yeah. And 13 days later, on my birthday, I got a phone call from my agent, and I was in the €2 shop on Georgia Street in Dublin, and myself and my girlfriend at the time, we had €2, and we were trying to decide between the fancy €1 soup or the 50-cent dust-flavoured soup and a baguette. And I got the phone call, and it was like, "It's Puffin, they want the book." And I was like, "Right, okay, what do you think we should do?" And she's like, "I think we should say yes." I was like, "Cool." And we bought the €1 soup.
Can I ask you?
So
the €1 soup.
Oh, yeah, the €1.
I just wanted to find out. Yeah.
It's like Knorr or something fancy.
So Puffin were there, they called you, and that was it. Now, tell us about the book, Knights of the Bar Dark. This is the winner of the Specsavers Children's Book of the Year. Yes. Now, it's sci-fi. It's magic as well, though. I mean, tell us about your hero, because there's kind of magic involved, and he doesn't believe in magic, and then something happens.
Yeah, so I wanted, like, everything is set in London and everything is set in America, and I wanted a book that was like really had that sort of Irish kind of feel to it, because on one side we're quite like not like a mystical people, but like, you know, every Irish,
yeah. The old stories, yes.
Yeah, we're really connected to our mythology, and on the other side we're really difficult to impress. So like when magic shows up in like an English story, it's like, "Oh, magic, fantastic," whereas in Ireland it's like, "What? Go away." So Denizen is from Mayo. He's extremely stressed. He's grown up reading the same books that most kids nowadays, like Artemis Fowl and Harry Potter, and he's just very sceptical about the whole thing. Like, he doesn't even like sports.
What age is he?
He is 13.
Okay.
Just turning 13. So that is a difficult age. And he is dragged into this world, and it's not like a safe sort of school environment. It's, you know, a war, and it's these knights who slowly turn to iron the more they use their power, as a sort of metaphor for bravery and for the traumas of war. And he has to decide whether he's going to be a hero or not. There's no prophecy, there's no chosen one. It's just him making the right choice or not. So,
and if we just go back to, say, when you were in school yourself then as well, because you kind of hid yourself in books, but also in video games.
I did, yeah.
What do you think? When people think if you're into video games, you're not into books, but you're into both.
Yeah, I mean, it's whenever I go into schools, I always ask kids, who here's a book person? And half the kids put up their hands. They go, who here's not a book person? And the other half put up their hands. And I hate that divide. Yeah. I hate the idea that some kids are either told or believe that they're not book people, because I think everybody's a story person. And with a lot of, if you're careful about choosing your video games, you can find stories that are equal to any novel, and you get to be a part of them as well, like you direct the story. So. Yeah.
When you were a kid, though, it sounds to me like you went into the land, your own land, with all these books you read and all that. Did that make you kind of a little bit of an outsider? Did you not have an easy time in school as a result?
Yeah. So, like, I mean, like, I wouldn't compare it to anything that like women or people of colour or LGBTQ people have to go through, but I wouldn't relive it. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't. I would have been like bullied a lot in school, and I was quite an anxious, nervous child anyway. And I think I think as young men, we're sort of told that, you know, you have to be a man, you have to be strong, you're not allowed to have feelings, because if you have feelings, then you're a freak. And that's just not directed at kids who are anxious, it's directed at kids who are too happy. Like, I deal with groups of 10-year-olds, and they're so themselves, you know, I'm going to be an astronaut, I'm going to write books. And then you talk to 13-year-olds, and they look at other students because they're afraid. And
but not everyone's born that confident.
Yeah,
you know, not everyone is like that. So you kind of were a little bit maybe shyer or whatever, and as a result of that, people bullied you.
I think there's a homogenization that happens. I think that you're encouraged to toe the line, and I always say I have so many feelings. I have to invent fictional people to put them in, and I got a lot of abuse as a result. And it's funny, all the things that I got like teased about as a kid are all my favourite things about me now, like being ginger or being a big guy or loving books. Like, now it's my job to have feelings and to invent fictional people.
It's difficult to be different, though, isn't it? When you're a kid, that you were this kind of different person. You had feelings. Well, it was just that you had a lot of thoughts in your head, and you just didn't realise at the time, I suppose.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, and so. Now when I go into schools, you see the same dramas play out, you see the same personalities, and it's really great to kind of very subtly, like, I never try and preach because kids pick up that really quickly, but I always kind of suggest, like, who you are now is not who you might be in the future, and as long as you stay in the game and look after yourself, you never know what you can turn into and stuff. So
no, the bullying stopped, but you stayed silent for maybe around 10 years after that, and you regret that in one sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, I thought there was something wrong with me as opposed to wrong with maybe the system or wrong with, like, you know, I used to people go, like, why were you bullied? It was like, oh, I was ginger. And it's like, no, I was bullied because some people are bullies. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people are jerks. Yeah, so...
They're the problem, not you.
Or not even, like, they have other stuff going on as well. Like, I wouldn't hold a whole lot of anger back towards them. Like, I get kids ask me sometimes, do you ever, like, are you still angry at the bullies? It's like, no, you can't live your life trying to please other people, like, so...
Well, you know, it made you the man that you are now, and the person that we can read.
The bullies can watch this and look at these books and say, ha.
Okay, so this is the first one.
Yes.
And is this the second one?
That's the second one.
How many are there?
There are going to be three.
Three in the series, and this is all published by Puffin.
All published by Puffin.
And what about down the road? You're probably going to have a movie and all sorts of things going on, knowing you.
There is, between myself and yourselves.
And all of our audience.
There's a film, we're working on a film now. There's, we have the director of Zombieland, Ruben Fleischer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good film. It's such a relief when it's like, oh no, I like that film, that's a good film.
I'm glad you're not excited about this at all.
I am sorry. A lot of feelings, as I said. I'm very flaily as a person. So yes, and then we're also working on a spin-off anime. So that's sort of a particular type of animation, and I would be writing that, which is like...
That's great. That's a totally different direction now.
I have no idea if I could pull it off.
Oh, you'd be grand, I'm sure now. You're dramatic enough to carry anything.
They're putting in the same sphere now as JK Rowling.
I always worry about when people like make that comparison in case she shows up in my house someday with a baseball bat or something like that. It's very honoured company to be in. Like, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan.
Would you call these books kind of young adults, or would anyone? You know the way people say Harry Potter is for young adults, but everybody reads them.
I'd like to think that anyone could sit down and read them if they give them a shot. Like, I'm not one of those people who I don't like putting things into boxes. I always think like labels are for jam makers and stuff. So like, I'm happy if people my age read it. I'm happy if people who are 8 or 9 read it. As long as you like a good story, I think you might like that.
It's not too scary for young kids, though. They like scary, that don't they, kids?
Yeah, they love scary.
And I think, like, I always kind of because I get adults asking me sometimes, you know, how do I bring my kids?
Yeah, I think
always
it's the deal.
Just set yourself up as the kind of person your kid can come to if they're scared about something. Like, if something in my book upsets you, then go and chat to your folks about it. But there's nothing too horrible in it.
Okay. And look at the way you look at JK Rowling's gone on to do an adult kind of book now and all that. Would you ever aspire for that, or maybe you're not? You want to get this sorted? To be
I much prefer, like, I do so many events with kids and they're so unabashed and they're so much fun, whereas adult events are a lot more sort of serious, and I'm a bit too...
You're a bit too mad for that, yes, I'd say.
Speaking of madness, you're going to be at the Barbara Children's Festival in Galway at the weekend as well. That's fantastic. We were there last year with the young
really
fella.
great,
It is brilliant.
So it's like the flagship children and families festival in Ireland. I have a weird relationship with Galway in that I only went there for the first time like 2 years ago, and
Galway should suit you
what's wrong with
perfectly.
you? People are like, yeah, look at the big Galway head in you.
Total Galway head.
And now it's my favourite. It's my first time at Barbara. I'm so excited.
That's really great.
Yeah,
we actually have
continued
tickets,
success.
don't we?
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming in to us. You're great.
If you go over to our Facebook page, we have tickets for Barbara there. That's on this weekend in Galway.
Yeah, very good.
Speaking of Galway.
Yeah, speaking of Galway, yes. Actually, we're going to go to our phones now. Maeve Geary from County Galway. Where are you, Maeve?
Corn going to Martha.
Oh, well, fair. Cundain na Galway, Connemar Tishin.
Go hall in the fad. €1,000,000 dul share go corn.
€1,000,000 go share go corn. Agus Thomas got the animal chusteach go G and Comorthus Intach Shin le Linty Citizen Spawn at Costa del Sol. So you've won €1,000 and your name is in the draw for the holiday to Spain, which will be drawn on Monday. Congratulations. Fair play,
Now, coming up in tomorrow's show, Ross O'Carroll Kelly, the creator, Paul Howard, he'll be in studio talking about his brand new show, More Madness.
Yes, we're giving you the chance to win a family trip to Orlando. It is just holiday season on this show. See you then. Slán.
Slán go fóill.